There's something nobody tells you about money until it's almost too late. I discovered this truth at 43 when I realized I'd been making the same financial mistake for 20 years. And if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance you're making it too. Most people think the secret to wealth is earning more money. They chase promotions, side hustles, better jobs. But here's what shocked me. I know people making six figures who are living paycheck to paycheck. And I know others earning modest salaries who've built genuine financial freedom. The difference isn't how much comes in. It's what happens after it arrives. Today I'm going to share with you the exact mindset shift that changed everything for me. And by the end of this video, you'll never look at money the same way again. Because once you understand this principle, every dollar becomes a choice between your current comfort and your future freedom. Let me start with a question that might sting a little. How much money has flowed through your hands in the last 5 years? Add up all your paychecks, bonuses, gifts, everything. Now look at your bank account. Where did it all go? If you're like most people, you're wondering the same thing I wondered. How did so much money leave so little behind? This isn't about judging your past choices. This is about recognizing a pattern that keeps most people trapped forever. They work for money instead of making money work for them. They're employees to their paycheck instead of employers to their capital. I remember the exact moment this clicked for me. I was sitting across from my mentor, feeling frustrated about my financial situation despite earning decent money. He looked at me and said something that hit like a lightning bolt. You're treating money like it's meant to disappear. What if you treated it like it was meant to multiply? That question changed my entire relationship with money. Because here's what I realized. Every single dollar you earn is actually an employee waiting for instructions. You can either give that employee a pink slip by spending it immediately, or you can put that employee to work generating more money for you. Think about it this way. When you buy something you don't really need, you're not just spending money. You're firing a potential employee. But when you invest that same money, you're hiring someone who works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even while you sleep. Now I know what you're thinking. I need to live. I have bills, responsibilities, a life. Of course you do. I'm not suggesting you live like a monk. I'm suggesting you become intentional about the difference between needs and wants, between investments and expenses, between building wealth and funding lifestyle inflation. Here's a simple test that transformed my spending habits. Before any non-essential purchase, I asked myself one question. Am I buying this, or is this buying me? If I'm buying it, it's an expense. If it's buying me something valuable in return, it might be worth considering. But let's get practical. How do you actually make this shift? How do you go from being money's employee to being money's employer? It starts with something I call the allocation mindset. Every paycheck you receive is like a box of seeds. You can eat all the seeds and have nothing left to plant. Or you can eat some, save some, and plant some. The seeds you plant today become the harvest you enjoy tomorrow. I use a simple formula that anyone can implement starting this week. For every dollar that comes in, I allocate it immediately. 50% for essentials, housing, food, transportation, basic necessities. 20% for wants, entertainment, dining out, the things that make life enjoyable. 20% for short-term savings, emergency fund, upcoming expenses. And 10% for long-term investing, the money that works for me while I sleep. Now you might be thinking, 10% isn't enough to make a real difference. Let me tell you a story that will change your mind. I met a school teacher named Sarah who started investing $50 a month at age 30. Just $50. By the time she was 60, that $50 a month had grown to over $200,000. Not because she was a financial genius, but because she understood something most people never learn. The magic isn't in the amount you invest. The magic is in starting and never stopping. Time is the secret ingredient that transforms small amounts into life-changing wealth. But time only works for those who begin. This is where most people make their biggest mistake. They wait. They wait for a better job, more money, the perfect time, the right opportunity. But perfect is the enemy of good. And while they're waiting for perfect, compound interest is working for everyone else. I learned this lesson the hard way. I spent my 20s waiting for the right time to start investing. I was going to start when I made more money. when I paid off my debt, when I figured out the perfect strategy. Meanwhile, my friends who started investing $20 a week in their early 20s are now sitting on substantial portfolios. Here's what nobody tells you about wealth building. It's not about being brilliant. It's about being consistent. It's not about timing the market. It's about time in the market. The people who build real wealth aren't the ones who make the smartest moves. They're the ones who make steady moves and stick with them. But before you can become consistent, you need to become clear. Clear about why this matters to you. Because motivation fades, but meaning endures. Why do you want financial freedom? Is it to stop worrying about bills? To provide for your family? To have choices instead of obligations? To sleep better at night, knowing you're prepared for whatever comes? Your why becomes your fuel when the discipline gets difficult. And it will get difficult. There will be weeks when investing feels impossible, when unexpected expenses hit, when everyone around you is spending and you're saving. Your why is what keeps you going when motivation fails. Let me share what financial freedom really looks like. It's not about having enough money to buy anything you want. It's about having enough money that you don't have to think about money all the time. It's the peace of mind that comes from knowing you have options. It's the confidence that comes from being prepared. I know a guy who drives a 10-year-old car and lives in a modest apartment. Most people would never guess he's worth over $1 million. He told me something I'll never forget. I'd rather live like no one else now, so I can live like no one else later. This doesn't mean living like a hermit. It means being intentional. It means understanding the true cost of every purchase. When you buy a $4 coffee every day, you're not spending $4. You're spending the future value of $4 invested over time. That daily coffee could be worth thousands in retirement. Now I'm not saying never buy coffee. I'm saying make it a conscious choice rather than an automatic habit. Understand that every spending decision is also an investing decision. Every dollar you spend is a dollar you're choosing not to invest in your future self. This brings us to one of the most powerful concepts in wealth building, the concept of paying yourself first. Most people pay everyone else first. The government through taxes, the bank through loans, the credit card company through payments, store owners through purchases. Then, if there's anything left over, they pay themselves. Wealthy people do the opposite. They pay themselves first. Before the bills, before the wants, before everything else, they set aside money for their future. They understand that if they don't prioritize their financial future, no one else will. Here's how this works practically. The moment your paycheck hits your account, automatically transfer your investment amount to a separate account. Treat it like a non-negotiable bill, because it is. It's a bill you're paying to your future self. This automatic transfer does something powerful. It removes the temptation to spend that money on something else. It makes investing effortless because it happens without you having to think about it or make a decision. The best investment strategy is the one you don't have to remember to implement. But where should you invest this money? This is where people get paralyzed by options. Stocks, bonds, real estate, cryptocurrency, precious metals. The choices seem endless and overwhelming. Here's the truth. The best investment is the one you understand and will stick with consistently. For most people starting out, broad market index funds are perfect. They're simple, diversified, and historically reliable. They give you exposure to the entire stock market without requiring you to pick individual companies. You're essentially buying a tiny piece of hundreds or thousands of companies. The beautiful thing about index funds is they remove the need to be a stock-picking genius. You're betting on the long-term growth of the overall economy rather than trying to predict which specific companies will succeed. And historically, that bet has paid off handsomely for patient investors. But here's the most important part. Whatever you choose, start small and start now. You can always learn more and adjust as you go. The biggest mistake isn't choosing the wrong investment. The biggest mistake is not investing at all while you're trying to find the perfect choice. I want to address something that might be holding you back. The fear of losing money. This fear keeps more people out of wealth building than any other single factor. Yes, investments can go down in value, but inflation guarantees that money sitting in low-interest savings accounts will lose purchasing power over time. The real risk isn't that your investments might fluctuate in value. The real risk is that your money definitely loses value to inflation if you don't invest it. You're not avoiding risk by keeping money in savings. You're just choosing a different kind of risk. The guaranteed risk of inflation rather than the potential risk of market volatility. Here's how I think about market volatility. Short term, the market is unpredictable. Long term, it has consistently rewarded patient investors. If you're investing money you won't need for at least 5 to 10 years, temporary market downturns become opportunities rather than disasters. During market downturns, you're essentially buying investments on sale. The same investments that were expensive last month are now available at discount prices. This is when the allocation mindset really pays off. While emotional investors are selling in panic, disciplined investors are buying at bargain prices. This is why dollar-cost averaging is so powerful. When you invest a fixed amount regularly regardless of market conditions, you automatically buy more shares when prices are low and fewer shares when prices are high. Over time, this averaging effect can significantly improve your returns. But let's talk about something even more important than investment strategy: your relationship with money itself. Money is not evil. Money is not the root of all problems. Money is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used constructively or destructively. The key is understanding how to use it wisely. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're generous, money makes you more generous. If you're fearful, money makes you more fearful. If you're disciplined, money rewards that discipline. If you're impulsive, money punishes that impulsiveness. This is why building wealth is ultimately about building character. The habits that make you wealthy are the same habits that make you successful in other areas of life. Discipline, patience, delayed gratification, long-term thinking, consistency. I've noticed something interesting about people who build real wealth. They don't just think about money differently. They think about time differently. They understand that time is their most valuable resource because it's the only resource they can never get back. Wealthy people don't just ask, "How much does this cost?" They ask, "How much of my life am I trading for this?" They understand that everything they buy represents hours of their life that they traded for money. This perspective makes spending decisions much clearer. When you realize that every purchase represents time from your life, you become much more selective about what deserves that precious time. That expensive gadget isn't just costing money. It's costing the hours you worked to earn that money. This time-based thinking also reveals the true power of passive income. Active income requires you to trade time for money. Passive income allows money to work independently of your time. This is why building investment income is so powerful. It's literally buying back your time. Every dollar of investment income is an hour you don't have to work for someone else. Every dividend payment is time returned to you. Every dollar of passive income brings you closer to the ultimate goal: having enough money working for you that your time becomes completely your own. This doesn't mean you stop working. It means you work because you choose to, not because you have to. There's a profound psychological difference between working from necessity and working from choice. One creates stress and resentment. The other creates fulfillment and purpose. I want to share something personal with you. The moment I achieved financial independence wasn't when I could afford luxury items. It was when I realized I could survive comfortably without working for several years. That realization changed everything. Not because I stopped working, but because I started working from a position of strength rather than desperation. When you don't need your job to survive, you can focus on doing work you love rather than just work that pays well. You can take calculated risks because failure won't destroy you. You can say no to opportunities that don't align with your values because you're not financially desperate. This is the real gift of financial freedom. Not the ability to buy whatever you want, but the ability to choose how you spend your time. Money becomes a tool for purchasing freedom rather than just stuff. But here's what most people don't realize. You don't need millions of dollars to experience this freedom. You just need enough passive income to cover your essential expenses. For many people, this might be only a few $1,000s a month, achievable through consistent investing over time. The key is understanding the difference between lifestyle and freedom. Lifestyle is about having nice things. Freedom is about having choices. You can have an expensive lifestyle and no freedom, or a modest lifestyle and complete freedom. Most people chase lifestyle and wonder why they never feel free. I've learned that true wealth isn't about having more. It's about needing less. When your expenses are low and your passive income is high, you're wealthy regardless of the absolute numbers. This is why the path to wealth often involves living below your means, while your investments grow above your expectations. This brings us to something crucial. The power of compounding isn't just about money. It's about habits. Good financial habits compound just like investments. The discipline you develop by investing regularly makes you more disciplined in other areas. The patience you learn from long-term investing makes you more patient in general. Every month you successfully stick to your investment plan builds momentum for the next month. Every year you maintain your discipline makes the next year easier. Wealth building becomes not just about accumulating money, but about becoming the type of person who naturally accumulates wealth. This is why starting is so important, even if you can only start small. It's not just about the money you're investing. It's about the identity you're building. Every time you choose investing over spending, you're reinforcing the identity of someone who builds wealth rather than consumes it. Your identity shapes your actions, and your actions shape your results. When you see yourself as an investor rather than just a consumer, your spending habits naturally align with that identity. You start asking different questions. Instead of "Can I afford this?" you ask, "Does this support my investment goals?" But let's be honest about something. This journey isn't always easy. There will be times when you question whether it's worth it. When your friends are buying new cars and you're buying index funds. When market volatility makes your account balance swing wildly. When progress feels too slow. During these moments, remember why you started. Remember that every dollar you invest today is a dollar that works for your future self. Remember that the temporary sacrifice of current consumption enables the permanent freedom of financial independence. I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, track every dollar you spend. Not to judge yourself, but to become aware. Awareness is the first step to change. You can't improve what you don't measure. At the end of those 30 days, look at your spending and ask yourself one question. If I continue spending this way for the next 10 years, where will I be financially? If you like that answer, continue as you are. If you don't, you now have the awareness needed to make different choices. Remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about progress. Every small step toward financial discipline is a step toward financial freedom. Every dollar you invest instead of spend is a vote for your future self. Every month you maintain your investment discipline builds momentum toward the life you truly want. Your financial future isn't determined by how much you earn. It's determined by how much you keep and what you do with what you keep. The choice is yours, and the time to start is now.